This is Kugan Cassius for IFLTV. It's a Friday evening. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Dave Coldwell. You all right?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I was just looking at I saw an Everton shirt, but obviously it's Bellew's one from.
There's, take note of the WBC badge next to it, mate. That's the only reason why I that.
That's all right. That's all right. I'd have that in my house as well, to be fair. How are you, mate? All good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, not too bad at all.
Yeah. Just a little recap of the week's activities, Dave. I'd like to hear your take on certain things. Look, I want to
Go on,
start.
then.
I want to start with this. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua.
Oh my God. Listen, the guy's good at what he does. He gets everybody, including us, talking about it. That's what we're doing. He's very, very good at self PR, but he don't half talk some shit.
Do you know what, though? I will say one thing, yeah. Because we know, or we're led to believe, that Canelo and Jake Paul was very close to happening, right? It didn't happen, but it was close to happening, right? So when you're talking about Canelo, Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua against Jake Paul, yeah, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we're now live in a world where it's actually not that unbelievable. Not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying we don't look at it as the same shock factor as we would have done 3 years ago.
No, you're right there, but also
That's
you
it,
got to
by the way.
remember.
That's it. That's all.
But you've also got to remember that, as I've just said, Jake Paul is brilliant at what he does. He's a master of creating publicity and getting his name up there and getting himself higher on the algorithms and stuff like that. But with that, he wants the eyeballs on him. Do you really, really think that he's going to go through with something where the amount of eyeballs that will be on him will witness his head literally almost getting decapitated because there's no chance he'll put himself in a position where he'll get in with somebody as big, as strong, as powerful, and as good as Anthony Joshua. When you put all that mixture together, you can say, yeah, but, he was willing to get in with Canelo. Listen, with Canelo, is obviously Canelo's not the biggest of guys. Canelo smashed the shit out of him, but it it wouldn't be as much. On a level when you've got a score on a pain score and on a brutality score, him getting unloaded on by AJ in comparison to Canelo obviously is going to be a hell of a lot more painful, a lot more brutal, and he's not going to put himself in that position. He would run. Also, he'll be running around the ring like just it'd just be a bad spectacle until AJ catches up on him and smashes him to bits. So he wouldn't put himself with his profile and his name and what he's doing. It's one of those where he's bluffing. It's not happening.
Right. Again, just my opinion on this, right? I disagree with what you've said because I genuinely think if this had genuine legs, right, I think Jake Paul would go in there with Anthony Joshua, right? I actually think he would, right? Like, I know what you're saying with Canelo, and obviously Canelo top whatever pound for pound, etc., etc. But a relatively obviously smaller guy to Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
I'll get your point about that. But I genuinely think that he would go into the ring.
Listen, if he did, and if he would, and if he actually did, and it's not just PR and self promo, then all respect in the world to him. Fair play. He's willing. It'd almost be like, do you remember Jackass
Yeah,
and who were those Welsh guys that did it? Dirty Sanchez.
yeah.
It'd be the kind of shit that they did where he would have it would be that sort of mentality that they had where they would literally put the balls like on a plank of wood and like slam it with a nail with a hammer and shit like that. Do you know what I mean? It'd be literally that kind of attitude where you do anything for the views, for the money, for the like what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? The shock factor. And if he did that, fair play to him, because he's got a big set of old kahunas there if he gets in with Joshua.
Do you know what? I think he gets a lot of unnecessary stick over stuff, and I know why he gets a stick is
Yeah,
because
of course he does. Yeah,
he was mentioning Canelo 3 years ago, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I think people like Canelo and even Anthony Joshua, right, and whoever else, are not looking at this as a competitive fight. They're looking
No,
at it as exactly.
easy payday, easy money. Of
Look
course,
at it.
I get it. Cool, I get it. I get the business side of things. I understand. And like I said, I rate him for what he's done. I think he's brilliant. I think he's a genius. And also, he's got that mentality where he genuinely doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks, and I love that. I rate that. So on the one hand, I like it, but on the other hand, it's I'm a boxing man, and I understand that you're talking about a guy who couldn't even beat Tommy Fury, and it's talking about fighting your Canelos and your Anthony Joshua's, and it's I get it, it's great, but also because his voice and actions go out to millions of people that don't know boxing, I kind of feel like it's almost like an insult to the sport, an insult to these fighters that are proven, and to think that he can just get in there and do what he wants with those kind of fighters. So there's two sides to it. I get it, I do get it, but then the kind of like the boxing side of me is kind of like I just want to see this guy get chinned and get shunted to one side. I haven't got a problem when he's boxing at his own level and fair. That's cool, but it's just yeah, it's one of those.
Well, look, listen, it's caused people to talk about it,
Of course, brilliant.
which is what we're doing now. So
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. I mean, look, like the likely chance of that happening, I'd say, are very, very slim. But stranger things have happened in boxing. They generally have. So we'll wait and see. But right. So moving on from there, uh, two parts to this, so you can maybe talk about it in the same breath. Um, the 100 grand fine that Eubank got, um, excessive. I'm not doing a pun here, by the way. I just mean excessive or not. Also, a lot of questions have been asked, which you would have seen fighters addressing about where the money's going for the 100 grand. Now, before you comment on this, I just want to read. I tried to get in touch with Robert Smith this week, who I'm due to actually, who's going to call me back. I just hold of him yesterday. So Robert Smith, I'm sure he won't mind me kind of repeating the message that he sent me. He said, all fines go to the British Boxing Board of Control charity to assist ex-boxers in need and medical seminars. The board do not receive any of the money, all to charity. That's the message I got from Robert Smith about this, because I had quite a few fighters, trainers, Peter Fury, Nick Blackwell, Liam Smith, Paul Smith, all talking about it and all asking, which is a legitimate question
Yeah.
about because the fine was so hefty of really where that goes. So, like I said, I haven't spoken to Robert Smith, but that is a message that Robert Smith sent me today. What's your take on that?
100 grand. Wow. Yeah, we've seen we've seen a lot of stuff go off at weigh-ins. We've seen a lot of stuff go off within boxing. And I've seen an 100 grand fine for at the time it was shocking. It was an egg and he slapped on the side of the head. I don't believe you should ever touch a man's face, but it happens. Are you going to start fining everybody that sort of figure if they do that? This is part of boxing. It's part of what it is. It's part of what people want to see anyway. It's part of what drums up interest. But when it comes down to the money and the fines, the boards are a non-profit organisation, if I'm right. Um, but they have a list of expenses, and when the money's coming in, and they go on these trips, or they send out representatives to go and supervise. If a fighter's fighting abroad and there's a board representative and things like that, top of the expenses. I know from back in the day when the expenses would be getting spent on a jolly up. they're in the bar the night before, or the night of, and it's going on expenses. 100 grand's a lot of money, and because we get our licenses from them, and they're the ones that have the jurisdiction, and they're in charge of all that sort of things, and they can tell us whether we can box or not on one of their licensed shows. But it can be run a lot better. And on the one hand, they're saying we haven't got manpower for this, we haven't got manpower for that. Well, the monies that you're getting, I get that you're saying it's going into their fund. I think it goes into the benevolent fund or things like that for injured boxers and stuff like that. But then when you know about the figures that injured boxers get, or ex-boxers or whatever, and I know a couple of fighters. Well, the money's not great. I understand you can't keep splashing out money. I get that, but the money's not great that they hand out. So where is the rest of the money going? I don't know. When you're the only one and you've got no one to challenge you as the figures that's running the sport, there are certain things that you can do, and there are certain ways that you can behave where there is no comeback. And sometimes, listen, I'm a big supporter of the board. I think in terms of when it comes to the medical side of things, and on fight night and things that they've got in procedure they've got in place, fantastic. The best I've seen anywhere. Better than anywhere I've been in America. So there's certain elements of it that are brilliant, but that's the procedures. The promoters pay for the paramedics and pay for the doctors and everything like that. So it's not like it's coming out of their pocket. But then there are things that the board do where, they'll pull fighters, not allow them to fight, literally let them know on the day, 2 days before a fight, oh, your medical's this, your medical's that. The medicals were sent in 2, 3, 4 weeks beforehand, and they've not got round to getting it sorted. I know that for a fact. So the board's not ran in as well sort of state as what it should be, as organised and an efficient state as what it should be. But yet they can slap a fine on you for whatever they deem fit. There are so many things about the board that people are getting a little bit fed up about, a little bit. Even people, like myself, where we've always supported the board, but then there's a lot of things that they're doing lately or not doing as correctly as what they should do, that when you see a fighter getting fined 100 grand for a slap on a high profile fight like that, it's not worth 100 grand fine.
Let me just go back to a couple of points that Peter Fury made yesterday. One is we have to address what you just said there. When it comes to a fight night, there is no better, like the procedure system that the board have got. There is nowhere better in the world. I think that's in agreement with everyone, all license holders, everyone involved in boxing know that the board is second to none when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Peter Fury said, which is, again, I tend to agree with this. The term of boxers in need, there's a big difference. Peter Fury didn't say this, so I'm saying this. There's a big difference, Dave, between somebody who's organically and naturally retired through that was their time to retire.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that and a Nick Blackwell.
Yeah.
That and a Kieran Farrell, right?
Yeah.
That and a whoever else. Okay. So boxers in need, and like I said, I spoke to Nick Blackwell about this, and Nick Blackwell kind of, and it's not Nick Blackwell saying, "Oh, give me money." It's not about that. But if there's somebody in recent times, and this was like 9 years ago, say recent times, thankfully, like I said that was 9 years ago. We're talking about the situation. Say thankfully, you know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
It's not like a thing that's happening every week, but surely, if there's somebody that does need that money and is stopped from boxing due to like bleeds on the brain or like a brain injury, which Nick's had, surely that money should be, or some money of these fines should be going predominantly to fighters like Nick Blackwell.
Well, that's what the fund's supposed to be there for people like that, and that's what they do get some money. But like I said, it's not a lot of money. It's not like gonna help you through your dark times moments where you've got to completely change your life and you may not be able to work full time and things. There's not anything in place like that that can give that sort of security. The issue with the board is that they always say that they've not got the funds for this and not got the funds for that, but they get what's called tournament tax off promoters. When a promoter runs a show, they get a percentage, they get a tax, or sometimes with the big shows, it's an agreed amount per show. They might do a deal, but even on the smaller shows, like when I was promoting, if small budgets, everything's tight, you lose money on a show, they're still there on that. The next you had your show on Saturday, Monday morning, you get an email, tournament tax due. You send in your accounts. You showed that you've lost money. I've even once where I'd lost quite a bit of dough on a show, and I just said to her, I said, look, I'm struggling. I said, can we do a deal on the tournament tax? And they're like, well, if you can't afford to do a show, don't do a show. I get that, fair enough. But if we don't put on these shows, then fighters aren't getting paid, and the structure of boxing is that it's not just for fighters, it's trainers, it's managers, it's cutsmen, it's the whips, the people that work on the shows, the events, and the referees and the doctors and everyone like that don't get paid. So it's just sometimes the attitudes of them that pisses a lot of people off in the sport, and it really does. But in terms of people that are injured, they're first and foremost should get help. It should be a decent sort of figure, because if you think about, I'm talking about little shows like what I used to do, or on TV shows. You think about the amount of money that they're making on tournament tax on the television shows. You've got Frank Warren's, you've got Matchrooms, you've got Wasserman's. You've got so many TV shows over the course of a year, huge events. There's a lot of money coming in. Boxers are paying tax to the board as well for a percentage of the purses when they're at a certain amount. So it's like they're making a lot of money, but they never seem to have the money for when it's needed.
Dave, let me ask you a question, because obviously, in regards to fighters, with their purse, does their purse, a certain percentage of their purse, go into something?
But board tax.
No,
you have to pay board tax to the
no.
board.
What
they would do it, I don't know.
No, I meant a percentage of their purse. Does it go into something for when they're retired? Is that
no? That's so. There's options, and I know people come up with ideas for things like that, and you do tell like put it into a pension or things like that.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember, there's 1% of fighters that are making life-changing amount of money. That are making money that's everybody else is living a dream and playing Russian roulette basically with their life, because they're investing the time, they're investing all the finances on the hopes and dreams that they make it as a champ, not just as champion, as a champion that's earning enough to change their life, so that when they've retired from boxing, they don't have to go and work on a door, they don't have to go and get a full-time, they've got something. Everybody's it's a gamble. I gambled myself. It was the same thing. I didn't get out of my overdraft until I was 40. So I gambled myself. I could have gone and got another job, but I was like, no, I love boxing. I want to make my life out of boxing, and I did it. And it was only when, obviously, Jamie McDonald out in America, that was my first big payday, good payday, and then that got me out of my overdraft. And then it was only when Bellew.
You're only 41 now. You're only
Huh?
41 now.
What?
You're only 41 now.
I wish. I don't wish. I think we should
Mad
really.
though. That's mad to hear that.
But what I'm saying is, all fighters are doing this.
Yeah.
The majority of fighters that we watch now on TV are waiting and praying that they make it. And even the ones that have got these nice records, even the ones that have got domestic titles and international titles, they're still kind of having to be careful with the money, and it's paying camp to camp, and yes, the standard of living goes up a little bit, but it's not that. A lot of them aren't thinking about for what comes after, because when you retire at 35, you've got a lot of living to do. The idea is to make sure that you can make enough money out of boxing so you can set you something up so you can make money there when you've retired. It's the very, very few that get enough to be able to buy houses, all the investor and this, and then don't have to worry about it. And then they can pick and choose what jobs they want to do after if they want to work. So that's very, very few. So when you're asking a fighter who's earning these little purses or not so great purses, and don't forget, fighters only boxing twice, 3 times a year when they start boxing for titles. So to then try and say to them, oh, we need to take a percentage of that and put it into that for your future, or for in case anything ever happens, they're like, either, nah, fuck that, I'm not doing that, because they don't want to. Because let's be real, fighters don't want to pay things out of the purses. And then the other thing is they can't afford to, because they're gambling everything on fight to fight. This is why when a fight does fall through, it hits them so hard, because they've trained, they've paid for nutritionists, for S&C coaches and everything like that, and nutritionists and S&C coaches still get paid, even though they haven't fought, they'll still get paid. So still got to fork out for that, and obviously the foods and everything like that. And if they're traveling, if they're living away from home, they still got to pay. So then when it comes to the do fight, and you say, right, okay, take that out and put it into that, 9 times out of 10 can't afford it. So it's not something that's ever worked.
There's a huge misconception outside of people within boxing about the money that's earned in boxing, isn't there? Because when people are talking about, say, even like Eubank-BENN, right? We don't know the exact figures, but we're assuming.
Oh, they're all right.
Yeah, look, we're assuming double figures possibly for each fighter. That's what I'm led to believe. Right, that's them, right? But they look at them figures. They look at like the money going into Saudi, which is great for fighters, etc., etc. But like you said, it's not even 1%. It's not even 1%.
No.
Look at Josh Padley the other day, and this is great to hear stories like Josh Padley, who I know it was overused, kind of. He was doing a roofing or solar panel job, got the call, done it, signed with Matchroom now, brilliant. But that is literally in that 1% of people getting these opportunities. The rest of them, Dave, how many fighters have you been involved with? Selling tickets, don't sell the tickets, you're not getting paid. Paying for opponents, all this kind of thing that people don't really see. That's 99% of the fucking market.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly how it is. That's exactly how it is. And some will, if they're boxing on a ticket deal, then if they're not selling the tickets, then they're getting peanuts. But and if they don't manage to pay enough for the opponent and the money to the house, then they're not boxing on the show. If they do, is they just cover that, and then they get whatever's left, and that's how a lot of the shows are being run now.
And when you listen to, like, there's so many fighters out there that do have jobs. Some fighters are not lucky, but they have obviously multiple sponsors, which help them possibly to kind of not do the job.
Without a doubt, that is what is keeping a lot of fighters in the sport is the sponsors. Without people like that who love the sport and want to support people in the sport, then they won't be able to do what they're doing. And like I said, everyone's chasing a dream, but you're kind of like gambling your life on succeeding, and that's why it's such a brutal sport. It is such a hard sport, and when people just like to rip the piss out of fighters when they get beat, you got to remember these guys are gambling everything to chase the dream. They've not gone the safe route and just thought, okay, well, yeah, but I'm gonna get a job and just forget that. I'm not. They're chasing a dream, and what the thing about boxing is, once you're in it, it's very hard to to give up on your dream because you think, well, what happens if? There's sayings where people talk about how you reach success just where it starts getting as hard as it's going to get, and you're about to think, I can't make this, I'm going to quit, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then boom, you take off. If you'd have quit just before that, it never happens, and that's what keeps people in the sport. It certainly did for me, and it does for many fighters. And it's the unfortunate thing is for a lot of them is that they might, when they've done, they have a look at this pretty record, and they might have won a couple of titles on the throughout the career. They have a look at this nice looking record, but they look back and they're like, I've got nothing to show for it. They've got nothing, and that's where it's very, very sad. And then like I said, then to try and get people like that, especially at the boxing at that sort of level, to funnel some money away to one side, it's very difficult.
Absolutely. I think we could talk about this all day, but just right, we're going to move on, Dave, and I'm going to throw some kind of other things that have occurred in boxing this week. Give us your take on these. Chris Eubank countering Eddie Hearn's 1 million offer to bet with Ben Shalom. With a bet of his own for 1 million. Eddie Hearn's come out and said that actually they've all had emails from the board, which they can't do that. Chris Eubank again posted a little response thing we've all seen. But I mean, look, a lot of this is just part of the selling of the fight. We know that realistically, even without
you can't bet.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen regardless.
No, you can't bet. I mean, that is what it is. I mean, you again, the board would be up for a good payday if you did. So I don't think anyone's going to be doing that. You just it's in the rules. You can't do it. So that is just a lot of posturing and just looking at point scoring and trying to embarrass each other. Really, when you say, listen, Eddie started at the end of the day because I think he offered for Ben Shalom to put his money where his mouth was. So he kind of started it. Just Chris stepped in and thought, all right, I've got you. And Chris has ended up spinning it on its head, and then Eddie's backtracking, but he's backtracking because he's right, but he kind of did this. If Bennett had been a bit sharper, Bennett had said that to Eddie.
Hey, listen, it's a slight talking point. It creates a little bit of thing online, but I think it's funny when we hear boxers kind of say, "Well, bet your purse against mine." It doesn't happen. So but it's a talking point for as long as it's relatively interesting. Heavyweights, David. Eddie Hearn said to me, was it yesterday or the day before? Anthony Joshua has got a slight injury, not going to be ready to train properly for about 8 weeks.
Really? That's not a slight injury. That sounds like a good injury. Bad injury, that.
So he's not going to be fit to properly train and throw punches for, Eddie said 2 days ago, for around 8 weeks, which pushes back any kind of immediate early summer. It'll probably be into August, late August or whatever. So I suppose we can kind of count him out of anything to do with Daniel Dubois for the time being. I mean, look, the suggestion that Daniel Dubois and Usyk are going to have their rematch because it's for all the belts, etc., etc. But I mean, Tyson Fury completely out of the picture for the moment. There's a lot of jigsaw pieces there that needs to be kind of put together somehow. I don't know, but I don't know what's going to happen.
No, I mean, I don't think AJ warrants I don't think AJ warrants a fight to go straight in with Daniel Dubois anyway. The fight wasn't anything where you could think that he's just going to go straight in for the rematch. I would like Joseph Parker to get his crack at.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
I think he's done more than enough. When you think about some of the resumes of some people getting world title shots, you look at Joseph Parker. He's an ex-champion. He's come through the hard way, taking fights that he was supposed to be the opponent for, really, certainly the underdogs for, beating them, and then even the Bacoli fight. I know, listen, Bacoli was a 2 days' notice and everything, but even the Bacoli fight, as soon as that fight was made, I was going, "Oh, hang on a minute, that's a tough fight." That's and a lot of people were fancying Bacoli to, if not beat him, give him hell while he was in there for. So just having the balls and the professionalism to say, you know what, I've prepared to the best of my abilities. I'm in the best shape that I can be. I believe I can beat anybody, no matter what. I won't take somebody that's quite an easier fight. Give me the danger man that nobody wants to fight. Even just on the back of that, it deserves to get in there with Usyk for the heavyweight titles. So yeah, that's a fight for me that I would like to see.
Yeah, I think we've seen kind of this second phase of Joseph Parker's career.
Yeah,
Especially obviously his great relationship with Andy Lee.
yeah,
See how that works, even from the outside. And I think Parker now, absolutely. And do you know what? We mentioned Parker there as well, but somebody who's a problem in that division as well is Ajit Kabayel.
Oh yeah, without a doubt,
He was
without a
in
doubt.
Monaco winning beaches all them many years ago. Was you there in Monaco?
Yeah. I was working that one for Sky, actually, and then he just he disappeared off the circuit, sort of thing, and then this he looks a lot more mature. Obviously, he's more mature, but so much more experienced, seasoned. His inside fighting, his body punching is fantastic. He's a real problem in the division. He's definitely a problem in the division. He's got mobility, and he's tough. He takes a shot. We saw, he got dropped, he got up and just carried on as though there was, he didn't even react to it. So yeah, he's definitely earned his stripes. Like I said, I think for me, say Parker fights Usyk, Cabiel against Daniel Dubois. That'd be a good fight. Um, yeah, he's definitely earned his stripes. I think those two. I think Parker and Cabiel are probably the two most deserving of getting title shots. Really.
Yeah, I think so. I think they've, we've seen they're kind of also, along with obviously Daniel Dubois, the most in-form heavyweights out there at the moment with their
Yeah,
recent form and
yeah,
the notable wins they've all had. Obviously, Dubois' ones and Parker's ones a little bit ahead of Caballe's wins, but
yeah,
we've had some great wins.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with them. Dave, before I do let you go, give us an update on your gym and your fighters.
Next up, I've got Stephen Cairns boxing April 12th in Dublin.
Getting
Uh,
creative with his old social media, isn't he, Stephen?
yeah, yeah, he's switched on. He's switched
Yeah,
on. He's,
yeah, I watch these things.
yeah, he's good. He's good. Good fight as well. There's been him and Ellis Price have been getting a lot of good experience lately. Sparring Dalton Smith. Ellis had a good week actually. Ellis with Cameron Vaughan and Dalton. Steve's getting a lot of rounds with Dalton as well. Yeah, they're getting good experience. They're all young kids, 22 years old. Yeah, they're good young fighters. Got a long career ahead of them. Hopefully, getting experience and being brought along just at the right pace. Hopefully.
Any new signings for you, Dave, coming up potentially?
Management wise, yeah, I'm just sorting one out. Training wise, no, I've got like probably one more slot that I would look at. I've always said five has been max, maybe one more. So that maybe one more is the one that I'd look at. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm loving it at the moment. I'm loving the coaching side. I'm happy with everything else. It's just yeah. It's
I know a Sri Lankan heavyweight that's a free agent at the moment. If you wanted to have a
is
look at,
it?
yeah, it's
Has he
got
got much experience?
loads of experience. Yeah,
Has he got a good chat? Can he sell a few tickets and can he get a few views?
he talks bollocks. That's what he does. No, it's funny whenever I'm ever out and people go, "Did you ever want to do it, Kugan?" I'm like, absolutely not.
What? Even when you was Ricky Hatton's bodyguard,
Oh yeah, he likes to.
didn't you fancy it back then?
Absolutely not. Listen, Ricky Hatton is one of the most loved people in sport. Yeah, that job is fucking easy.
Didn't you have to sort anyone out?
The only person I like to sort out was Ricky after that Manny Pacquiao fight. He went on the piss for fucking a week, and I had to babysit him. We were talking about it last week, actually. The Jonas Price fight. I went out with Ricky after, and we were talking about it. And like, honestly, he was an absolute nightmare because I had it easy for about 8, 9 weeks, and
Yeah.
then the last week, and I was. Do you know what's funny? Yeah, so I was leaving on the Sunday, right? So I've gone up to Ricky's, like whatever it is in the MGM Grand. Is it the separate bit with the suites?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so I've gone up there with my bag, like my suitcase and that, and then I've gone to say bye to Ricky, and Jennifer said, his partner at the time said, "Can I have a chat with you?" I said, like, yeah. She said, "Do you have to go on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do. Like, I've been away from my partner for like now nearly 11 weeks, 10, 11
Wow.
weeks." I said, "I do need to go on." She's like, "All right." She said, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Why?" Just explain. She's like, "Ricky obviously is going to be here another week. It would be nice if someone was with him." Right? So I've gone, oh my God. So literally, I think I spoke to Paul Speak at the time. And I thought, oh my God, like, now I feel this isn't a finished job. You know, like, as I was a
Yeah.
serious security guru, right? I felt like this wasn't a finished job. So I've gone there, rung my ex girlfriend at the time and said to her, "Do you know what she done?" She went, do what you're going to do," and put the phone down. So now that my flights have been rebooked, I've got another 6 days in Vegas babysitting Ricky Hatton.
When he's on it.
Listen, it obviously had a horrendous night, but to be honest with you, I'm glad I did it because, like, it was just me and him. That's the thing. It was just me
Yeah.
and obviously, we was out a few times, etc. And I was, yeah. Do you know what? I don't think I've mentioned this before, but there's one time we walked round the back of the MGM and he was hammered. Hatton was hammered, and I'm walking round, and my partner at the time had rung me, so I'm on the phone to her. I said, "Rick, just 1 minute, just let me answer his phone." So I'm speaking to her. She's like, "Oh, how's it all going?" I said, "Right, blah blah blah," and then I looked round, and I couldn't see Ricky at all. But all I could see was a massive, them big dumpster bins.
Yeah.
That's all I could see. So I was thinking, right, surely not. So when I ring you back in a minute, in that minute, I've walked up, put my head where I'm tall, put my head over the bin, and he's laying in the
No.
bin going, "Whoa." I had to climb in the bin, Dave. Climb in the bin. Obviously, at that point, he was like, what, much over like 10, 11 stone or
Yeah.
whatever at that point.
Yeah.
And I've had to carry him out of the bin, get him up to his room. Right, it was a nightmare. I was on my own as well. I was thinking, "Fucking hell." And he mentioned that to me the other day. He said, "Yeah, didn't you find me in the bin?" I went, "Yeah, I did, Rick. I did." Because he thought it was funny. He just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Like, climbed in the bin. Sorry, Rick, if you didn't want that mentioned.
Too late now.
Fucking late now.
Just remember, IFLTV don't clip a cut.
Oh,
Stays in.
right now. Leaving that in there. Do you know what the funny thing? Last thing on that. So he had a book out called Ricky Hatton's Las Vegas Tales. And like me and my partner at the time, we split up not because I was away, obviously, but we split up a couple of months after that. We've been together for like 4 years. And Ricky writes in his book that the reason why we split up is because of Ricky Hatton. So I'm reading this book, yeah, because I'm in the book and I've given obviously my own version of certain
Yeah.
in Vegas. So I've rung him and I'm like, "Why did you write this? Like, she's gonna see it. Like, it's not." He went, "Oh no, I thought you guys split up because of me." And I was hell, you're giving yourself a bit too much credit
Yeah.
there. We had our own problems, you know what I mean? Oh, you writing it in a book, yeah, it's in it. You can buy it now on Amazon, by the way, Ricky Hatton. Las Vegas Tales. Dave Coldwell, thank you very much for talking to IFLTV. I hope you have a wonderful Friday, and I will see you at Altrincham next week.
Yes, mate. Yeah, I want to be at that one.
We were going to be at Misfits, but now Misfits has been cancelled. So, which is not great because there was a few interesting fights on that card in Manchester, but that's off next week. So, Altrincham, just it is.
Okay, mate. Well, I'll probably see you there then.
No problem. Dave Coldwell, thank you very much.